Another thing I can't do is make it through SmackDown. How's that for a
Well,
transition?
you better have, because I did, you better have to know we got another big angle going on now. They're going to show us how to do this thing right, too. Apparently, the next rivalry, not going to be between Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce, just mere general managers, going to be between the chief content officer, Triple H, and the board of directors member, Hollywood Rock. And I'm loving
Corporate Rock.
Corporate Rock. Ah. Well, there you go. And he's got to come out. He's got to wear a suit. Got to wear a suit pretty soon. But again, I think you termed it before we went on the air. This is SmackDown for February 9th. And before we went on the air here, you said something to the effect of this was, the first segment and then a bowl of nothing soup. But it doesn't have to be anymore. They did 2.5 million people for this show off of the WrestleMania kickoff thing the night before. And what's going to happen? They got 14,000 people in Charlotte. That's a new arena. It's not at the old Charlotte Coliseum. It's not even the new Charlotte Coliseum. It's the fucking whatever arena they've got now. And there's 14,000 in that. Meanwhile, by the way, Saturday night's Collision main event was Pockets versus Ishii.
You see how big that crowd was?
SmackDown is drawing 2.5 million people on Fox, is getting 14,000 people in the building in Charlotte, and Collision is getting beat by the other midget wrestling show on the Discovery Network.
AEW Collision in Hendersonville, just Henderson, Nevada, 2,473 tickets distributed.
Well, and guess what? That's a suburb of Las Vegas. By the way, it's not just like out in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. Henderson is next to Las Vegas, correct?
Correct.
Anyway, they opened the show on SmackDown with the kickoff package, the WrestleMania kickoff, and they made The Rock a huge heel, and Cody was portrayed as even more of the hero. So they are really building on this. And the package encapsulated all of the important points if you missed the thing. And then they have Triple H's entrance. And now what is it? He's in a certain kind of frame of mind depending on his theme music, because this wasn't time to play the game. This was bow down to the game.
No, bow down to the king, not bow down to the game.
Oh, well, they're bowing to somebody.
The other thing is this the first time he's come out there and introduces Paul Triple H Levesque?
I think so.
If it happened before, I never noticed it. Yeah.
It's always Triple H, and he didn't come out to his wrestling music. We're bowing down to him. And he had Aldis and Pearce in the ring, the two general managers with him. And he's more popular now. Did you hear the Triple H chants? Suddenly, he's the goddamn belle of the ball around here now. They're loving him.
When you make the program watchable, people appreciate it.
Well, there you go. And this was the best promo, because normally, we've said it, he talks a while and it's not always scintillating. But he was prepared for this one, because everybody in the news, it's not what they're doing on television, it's what's in the news. Oh, the fucking Rock did an end run around Triple H, overruled him, pulled the board of directors card, blah, blah, blah. So here he cuts the promo. Hey, we took a hard left on the road to WrestleMania, that's for sure. But let me clear up one thing. There's some confusion around here. Some people don't know their role. People tried to assert authority they don't have. I don't care where you sit, as in sitting on the board of directors. The answers come from one place, and whether you like them or not, you're looking at him. So now we've got, like you said, the palace intrigue, the Game of Thrones at the very top. And they played into chief content officer like crazy. And he announced the main event will be at WrestleMania Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. And so, could he have, without mentioning The Rock's name, but saying it the way that everybody knew what he was talking about, could he have said it any better?
I thought this was great. I thought he did a great job. It's sad that he can't work a match physically,
Yeah.
but he could be great in this role, and he has been so far. I did have one thought watching this with Aldis and Pierce behind him. Which one of those two is going to flip for The Rock? Which one of those
Well,
two is going to say, I answer to the board of directors, not to the chief content officer?
it has to be Aldis because not only is he the edgier one, but he's the new guy.
And then Aldis will blame Pierce, say it's Pierce
Yeah.
throwing him off. Yeah.
And then Pierce will blame Bruce and they'll fire Bruce. But no.
And everyone will believe it.
So then the Triple H's final line on this was there are some people back there that this decision is going to disappoint. They won't like it. It doesn't matter if you don't like it. And then he turns it over to Aldis, who shifts to Seth Rollins and the World Heavyweight title. And we've all agreed here that Seth's challenger will be the winner of the Elimination Chamber on February 24th. And a series of matches to determine the participants will start tonight. And Pierce directed everyone's attention to they're not calling it the Titantron anymore. They're just calling it the Tron. You think even the word Titan now is too Vincey?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So the participants in this thing, Randy Orton, Bronson Reed, Kevin Owens, Logan Paul, AJ Styles, The Miz, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Dominic Mysterio, LA Knight, and Ivar, the Viking. I think we can predict at least one finish. So 12 stars, 6 matches, 3 nights, I guess this night, Raw, and then SmackDown next week. And the first match is Drew McIntyre against AJ Styles. But the promo segment isn't over yet because now Drew comes out with the microphone. And I'm loving his promos now. He says thank you to everybody for feeling the same way about CM Punk as I do and for buying the t-shirt that he's got, CM Punk's WrestleMania main event, RIP. Thank you for thanking me for bashing Punk, and he called himself DM Hunk. So he's got a little sense of humor too. And he's taking credit for this. He came out and reasoned with Cody and got physical finally, and it worked. And so now he's taken out Punk. He's made Cody finish his story. He's almost saved WrestleMania. The only thing he's got to do is save the world title by winning the Elimination Chamber and then beating Seth Rollins at WrestleMania because that's what's best for business. Drew McIntyre, who would have thought this was hiding there all that time? Was he just an unhappy babyface and wanted to get all this venom out of his system?
I guess so, but to go back to the previous thing, what do you think they're going to do with Triple H and The Rock?
Oh, I'm sorry. I glossed over that. They can't have a match, obviously. You mentioned Triple H's heart problems, but again, The Rock can talk like crazy, and, whatever we think, he's a big star, and now he's a heel. And Triple H, they wouldn't believe, the fans wouldn't believe Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce or anybody else standing up to The Rock verbally or trying to put his foot down in a power struggle. Triple H has got enough fucking pull and enough stroke and enough history, credibility with that audience that they will say, yeah, this is going to be a fucking struggle.
And just the idea all these years later that Triple H and The Rock, after the Attitude Era and everything, that these two would have a problem, it works. You believe it.
So, the personalities are what's important here. They don't have to fight. And, again, I can't wait to see it. Like you said, they can go so many different ways. Aldis can flip an answer to the board of directors and try to undermine Triple H or whatever the fuck.
Does The Rock start signing wrestlers behind Triple H's back? That's how Jacob Fatu gets brought in. The Rock just signed him.
There you go. I don't care who signed. I don't care if goddamn Howard Hughes' biographer, what was his name? That would have been a hell of a fucking line if I could have got that out. Clifford Irving. I don't care if Clifford Irving signs him. I guess you got to be 60 to really get that too. So
yeah,
we'll gloss over that. So anyway, Drew McIntyre was out there and he's got to wrestle AJ. And here came old AJ, day late and a dollar short. He can't hang in this atmosphere anymore. And when they come back from the break to start the match, here comes LA Knight. He makes his entrance because he's going to sit at the desk for color. And so they ring the bell for this thing, and they're 22 minutes into the show. And it's match number 1. And they go a little under 3 minutes, and they go out to the floor, and Drew throws AJ over the rail into the fucking sound pit to the break. And when they come back, they go a few minutes, and it's back and forth. And finally, they go to the floor in front of the announce desk, and as AJ takes a bump, LA Knight pours water on him. AJ slaps the bottle out of LA Knight's hand. Drew drives AJ into LA Knight and then rolls AJ into the ring. And LA Knight's trying to get in the ring. The referee's keeping him out. AJ small packages Drew, but there's nobody to count. And then as soon as AJ pops up and nails LA Knight off the apron, Drew hits his kick, 1, 2, 3. So pretty much the same variation on a theme, but they got out of it and everybody knew Drew's going to the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
And it was a WWE TV match. Nothing wrong. Not much of it. Any thoughts?
Those are my thoughts.
Well, there you go. Did you have the thoughts of ridiculous horse shit when you saw the segment with Purely Dreary and whatever they were doing?
I saw them on a pier or wherever they were, but I didn't watch.
Well, you should have peered in a little closer. It's bad. These guys are bad. And then they did a package on Bailey and Io Sky, and they're falling out. And we're going to do it again, Brian. They've got the men's elimination chamber. So we got to have a girls' elimination chamber.
You keep acting surprised. This is every single event they do. They do one for the other.
Well, they had a qualifying match here, too. Bianca Belair against Mia Yim. I wonder who is going to win. But they're seriously, again, it ruins it every time they have the war games. They're going to have women's war games. They have a Royal Rumble. They're going to have women's Royal Rumble. They have the Elimination Chamber, women's Elimination Chamber. They take the edge off their big match just to fucking act equal, and these matches are not equal. The interest is not equal. The performance is not equal. I'm equally disgusted. I'm regusted and dismayed.
All right. Are we done with SmackDown?
No, we're just at 9 o'clock. But we're getting close because there's not much left. Triple H was in the back with Braun Breaker, and Triple H is proud of him and anxious to see what he can do at this level. And just as Braun is going to ask for advice on which of the offers to take, Raw or SmackDown, here comes Paul Heyman. And Braun leaves. I'll come back later. And Paul said, boy, that's a hell of a talent from a really wacky family. And basically the upshot of this is that Heyman tells Triple H and the rest of us that he sees it's not a good time to talk to Triple H right now. So he's going to come back next week and he's going to bring Roman Reigns and The Rock. So they got 2.5 million people to watch this show with no Roman Reigns or The Rock. And the people have a week to think about that next week, Roman Reigns and The Rock is going to be there. Boy, howdy.
They do a good job of drawing it out. You know, if it was AEW or most places actually probably in the last 30 years, even WWE, they would have had them on TV on this episode.
Yeah, they'd have finished it in Seg 3.
Yeah.
But then Bailey was in the ring for a promo. She's a very likable babyface. She can talk. I'm not interested in any of the other girls in her mix. But then the missing Dakota Kai came in. Remember, she wasn't there when the Carrie and Oscar and Io turned on Bailey. And they had a heart-to-heart girl talk about all the issues and all their heartfelt emotions. And did this look like it belonged on wrestling or on Lifetime television?
This was okay. I'm not going to kill this.
Well, anyway, they cried, and then they said they missed each other, and Dakota misses you and me and Io, and I guess Bailey misses me and you and a dog named Boo. And then the Kabuki Warriors contingent of Damage Control came out, and Dakota Kai milked turning on Bailey, hitting her with a chair, but instead ran the other girls off with a chair. So Dakota Kai, crippled as she is going to stick with Bailey against the other three that are fully operational and not injured. So you got 1.5 against 3. It's still uneven.
They need one more. They got to find who that other party will be.
Well, technically, they need 1.5, or for Dakota Kai to get well.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll get another girl and Darling Dagmar. So then we had Pete Dunne and Master Bate take on the team of DIY. They went a minute to the break. They came back, and at least they beat Johnny Sameface. I don't know why DIY are not wearing their tool belts to the ring. Don't you think? And shouldn't they have the hats with the little lights on like they're going down in the crawl space to investigate something?
Well, that's the thing. What are they doing themselves? Are they wrestling and winning matches themselves? Isn't that what everyone is supposed to be doing in wrestling?
Well, they didn't win here, so apparently they lost it themselves.
Lose it yourself.
LIY. Yes, if somebody's got to do it, if nobody else is going to lose it for you, you got to step in.
It's a big question. Why are they do it yourself? In what way is anything they're doing a do it yourself? Are they flipping houses?
They're not drawing any. They might as well try to flip some. So anyway, we get to the main event. Another qualifying match was Sami Zayn and Randy Orton, 2 baby faces. Obviously, you know who's going to win here. Sami Zayn is not going to beat Randy Orton. And I think Orton looks great, and Orton knows how to turn it on for the big show, and Orton is a smart worker and can get by. But Orton, I think his patience for these trivial TV matches may not be what it once was, because he's doing just enough to get through this, and you can't really tell except I'm watching, right? Because they're stretching it out. It was almost 10 minutes with the entrances and the break and the spots before they actually got this underway, because they don't stick Randy out there for 30 minutes, right? And it's a cold match with another babyface. But they were doing a spot, and Randy hits the ropes, and Sammy's going to sidestep him and throw him out on the floor so Sammy can milk a dive or whatever. And Sammy sidesteps and grabs Orton's head with his hand. And Sammy made the motion like he's thinking Orton's going flying over the top rope, and Orton went through the second and third and took a nice little safe bump to the ground. It's almost like he lost him in mid-throw. And then Sammy on the floor went up to the top of the barricade around the ring to do a moonsault, and Orton sidestepped it bigger than shit and kind of covered his face up like, fuck, he's coming at my face. I think he was just not in the mood to have a lot of it on this particular night. But finally, they had again a WWE TV match. 2 pros, nothing wrong with it. Orton hits the big superplex. They go back and forth. And finally, Orton hits the RKO out of nowhere, 1, 2, 3. And then as he's glorifying his victory and Sammy's disappeared, McIntyre comes in and they stand there and look at each other. We go off the air. I think this was probably the living embodiment of less is more for this television program. Wouldn't you agree, Brian?
It was the opening segment, and then a bunch of stuff you could miss. I mean, the Heyman segment backstage sets things up next week.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can miss it, but if you're a regular fan instead of somebody that's force-feeding themselves like we do, like fucking competitive binge eaters in a contest, it's not hard to watch this. There's nothing really stupid or offensive. They aren't necessarily nobodies. Like all the mistakes that AEW makes, put nobodies in the ring and leave them there too long. They're not doing that. They're all stars. It's just, you watch the show to see what's going to happen in the main event picture, and everything else is, the parsley around that plate.